Okay, so first of all, thank you for attending this knowledge sharing lesson. As some of you already know, we held some of those lessons before, and from this Friday, every first Friday in a sprint at 2 p.m. we will have some lessons. So I decided to go first just to show you it's not a big deal. Don't be shy, please apply. You have an email sharing.workgroup@efront.com. Any topic you like to share with us. For today, I choose to speak a little bit about penetration testing. First, you all get those security trainings which we should pass until the September. So some of those things which I will talk today about, you have there as well. So what is penetration testing? If you ever talk with some of QAs or attend some interview for the QA job, probably you heard a lot of terms containing word test. Unit test, integration test, stress test, smoke test, well, a lot of tests. So penetration testing, or commonly known as penTest, is like one of those urban legends. Everyone heard about it, but no one's sure what it is. So in this presentation, I'll try to explain what penTest is and what's not. To do so, let me do some analogy to you. Let's assume that this house represents a network that we're trying to break in. So if we send this home inspector to look at the house with a monocular, or in this particular picture with magnifier, to look to all the different doors and windows, all the possible entry points to the house, to look which of those are open and closed. Basically, all those entry points in our analogy are ports. So next thing is vulnerability management. So we send this inspector to check our house, to focus to the security, and he come with a clipboard and say, okay, this door may be a little bit too old and it will be easy to kick in, or lock is really cheap, you should remove it. So he write up the checklist and deliver a report. Basically, that is vulnerability scan. And penetration testing is actually sending this little ninja guy to the house to try to break in. He might be smashing a window or using a couple of lockpicks to unlock the door, or any trick he have in his bag to try to break in. So basically, looking at the network and try to break in whatever means necessary is penetration testing. Question remain: why conduct a pen test? Well, there are many reasons for that. First one is to prevent data breach. It's basically a very high-level goal. Well, we all see those data breach in headlines, so that's the primary goal. Some of those data breaches you have in our security training as well. It helps us basically to identify where our weaknesses on the network, and we are trying same attack methods as malicious software on the internet and trying to break in, so we try to see how to preserve that. So next one, we can test our security controls. So we have firewalls, we have antivirus programs, we have other tools and protocols, and we want to see if they are actually working. So with pen tests, we are basically simulating attack to our network and then figure out, did our controls pick that up? Did security team do by the protocol what it needed? So it's very common to have this test in a cooperation with the head of security team without noticing anyone other. So we are checking how we are alerted and how we handle it. Next reason, if we're trying to roll out a new system and everything seems okay, before put it out live into production, we might want to conduct pen tests to make sure that system is secure and that we are not exposing any data we don't want out of the system. So what are the steps of the penetration test? First one, is establish a goal. Before we start, we must establish a goal to know what we want to do further. So if, for example, we want to breach to some database using SQL injection or any other method, we must know that's our goal and to see how we can achieve it. So once the goal is set, we must do some researching. I really like this word, reconnaissance. It's in a military like observation of a region to locate an enemy or strategic feature, which basically we are trying to do when we are attacking our network. So we are trying at this point to find as much information as we get about our target before launching the first attack. In that process, we maybe will research on internet, on Facebook, LinkedIn, documentation. Well, basically anywhere where we can get some information which can be useful later in attack. So next is discovery, which is basically port scanning that we already mentioned. We are trying to check. Sorry, just a second. Just a second. Seems that our meeting is full and some people want to connect but can't. Yeah, seems that the 60 is the number that we can have. Well, I will send you a record. Sorry about that. Seems that 60 is the maximum number for presentation, and some people from Belgrade can't get in. Sorry about that. Okay, so we start network discovery, which is basically port scanning, and we are checking what servers are available, what ports are open, and so on. Next step is exploitation. That's the moment when we are actually starting intrusion to our network. So we are using little pieces of software to exploit any vulnerabilities of the network to try to take control of the system. Of course, there are some other way to do that. Brute forcing is one of them, probably one that you are more common and heard about it. Brute force attack work by calculating every possible combination that could made up a password and testing it to see if it's the correct one. So if the password length increases, the amount of time to find the correct password increases almost exponentially. That's the reason we always get those emails to not have weak passwords or to try to make it stronger and longer. Then social engineering, also you have a whole in our security training, whole one part talking about it. Social engineering essentially means that we are trying to trick people to click on a phishing email, to click on a links which are malicious, to maybe enter USB with a malicious software which you accidentally left in a kitchen or somewhere. So that's the other way you are trying to trick one to take over of the system. So if any one of previous steps succeeded, then we actually take control of some machine. When we take control of some machine, we can do anything from downloading files, take screenshots, sending email, maybe go deeper to the network, or anything else that user can actually do, including maybe turning on and off camera and whatever user can do on his computer when he is on. Next step, pivot. Well, pivot is well-known technique in basketball for those who are playing. Probably my first, when I remember one old episode of Friends, during this particular episode, Ross are screaming when they are trying to move a couch upstairs. Pivot, pivot, pivot. Let me refresh your memory if you look it. Of course, we're not going to move couches, but we can move through the network. Basically mean that we can jump from one machine that we already take control to the other one. So if our target network are in a different domain than ours, we can, through few steps, break in as well. Then in the end, when we are done, before we make a report, we need to collect evidence to prove people who entrust us to do a pen test that we did it actually. And after all, we are creating report. Basically, in that report, we will write all things that we tried and all things which were successful and where we take over of the system. Hopefully, there will be some remediation after all to stop real hackers to exploit our vulnerabilities. You can see you can see in this picture the process how to remediate it after we figure out from report what's wrong. So one of the well-known techniques to exploit vulnerabilities is SQL injection. What is SQL injection? Well, as you know, SQL query is one of the way which application communicate with the database. So if we have that data directly from web form fields in our database query, then you can actually make if you enter some particular part of SQL commands to get data out which you don't want. So if a database is connected and if an input is directly using one SQL query, then we can expose data. I will show you some example. So this is the basic one. When you put in the input field keyword or and something which is always true. So when SQL statement look like the one you have in the middle of the screen, that's always true. So at the first look, maybe it's not look dangerous, but if our table user contains names and password and any other data that we do not want to expose, then it's pretty easy to get it. So other similar one, if we add or and in a question mark something which is always true, basically pretty same with the previous one. Of course, this is one example with a batch SQL statements. In this particular case, we can actually drop other table. So how to prevent this? One of the way is this one, to using parameters for protection. This is the example in .NET, but it can be done in any language that you are using. Here in front, when we are testing our application, we are using Acunetics. I think that we will have maybe one training for the QA people who will use this, how it actually works. Generally speaking, you enter the address of your web application, and then automatic scan will try to find what are our vulnerabilities, and then you will get a report where you have all that that you can improve, or you can use some of their manual tools where you have blind SQL injector as well when you are trying to break to the system. So if you find this was basically just one introduction to figure out what the penetration test is, what is not. If you find this topic interesting and want to have maybe more data about it, please reach Tatiana Vracharic, as she's managing a project called Internal Penetration Test. So it will be some training, and there you can get more data about it. So for this first presentation, I will not talk much more. Next time, in a 2 week time. Philip Chardas will talk about .NET Core, about microservices and web devs. So please reach out. And if you want to have any topic you might want to share with us, please send email to sharing.forgroup@infront, and we will schedule a time and have this lesson. So thank you for listening. That's everything from me at this moment. If you have any question, you can ask if I can answer it right now, or I will send you an answer later.